And then you're just like surviving that arid desert where internally you begin feeling like nothing's working, nothing's gonna work. Everything is dead inside. I'm dead inside. This casino is dead.
Just to be clear, craps is a losing game. Is the only game in the house, funnily enough, where one of the bets in combination has true odds, where there's no house edge.
I will say, if you master some of these, what I call investment mirror principles, your life becomes better. You become a better human.
And you win in this game even if you're trying to beat the market by investing in individual stocks. You can be wrong 9 times out of 10.
For an advertising-free version of this show, check out wallstreetwildlife.com.
Welcome to the Deep Investing Jungle with your hosts Luke the Badger Hallard and Christoph the Monkey Pakarski. Today we are talking about investing on borrowed conviction. We're also going to preview a bunch of topics that Christoph and I are presenting in Las Vegas this weekend. In fact, you're listening to this on Sunday. Mm-hmm. We are in Vegas now. Hopefully we're still live. Plus, I caught NVIDIA's 2026 GTC and I got a few thoughts.
All right, Badge, but first something wild, and I mean this literally. You saw the numbers Beaver just pulled?
Yeah, it's pretty mad. So apparently over 70% of people who watch this show regularly haven't actually hit the subscribe button.
70%, Badge, and that's some of you right now. And this is the crazy part. Have been unsubscribed by YouTube and you did not even know it. The algorithm, man, works in like crazy, wild, mysterious ways.
It's like a snake in the tall grass and it's stealing our progress.
It is snatching our progress. So if you are watching this right now or listening on your commute on your some bridge or toll booth, could you just please check? Takes 2 seconds. Just take a look that you're subscribed to the YouTubes. That's our one ask of you.
That's it. And this is why it really matters. We're not just saying this. We're getting close to a subscriber milestone that genuinely changes what we can do with the show.
Man, do we have high hopes. We want better guests. We want deeper research. We want better tools for you. Luke and I are really, truly trying to build something different here. We're not screaming about meme stocks, right? We're not selling fear.
We want to be the show that makes you a sharper, calmer, more independent investor. That's it. That's the whole mission.
Right. So here's what you got to do. It's easy. Hit the subscribe button, that one free thing, and we will keep showing up every single week, every single day, going deeper, getting better.
We've done it since episode 1.
And we are not stopping. That's the promise of the deep jungle.
Thank you. Seriously.
All right, Badge, let's get to business.
It is Sunday. Let me tell you where we are right now. This podcast goes live at 8 a.m. my time here. I think you and I are, if we're still out for the night or from Saturday night, and it's like Vegas Sunday morning, we screwed up because we're supposed to be going to the Wizard of Oz with a couple of our Patreons in about 2 hours' time.
How many people in that auditorium watching, Wizard of Oz on the Sunday morning are going to be in their right state of mind or not deeply, deeply hungover? By the way, this is not, I don't know how many patrons know this or our listeners know this, but Monkey has a sizable position in Sphere, up several 100% in Sphere. So this is, legit research. I've been dying to go check it out. So that's how we're kind of playing this Vegas trip. It's like we're going to do the degenerate stuff, but boy, have we got some cool actual investing tours and hands-on experiments planned for our cohort.
Yeah, for real. Like I visited one before, but going to go visit an Amazon distribution center. We are going to get to ride in a Zoox, which is like Amazon's version of the Robotaxi, no driver. You just sit like in a goldfish bowl and you get to go down the entire strip. We're going to ride the boring tunnel, Tesla, like autonomous vehicles in tunnels, and like a whole bunch of other stuff. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and the other stuff that we'll be doing, we'll talk about a little bit later in this episode, but what principle are we sort of enacting here? It's the if you think like an owner, as an investor, you're going to do better. And so how could you not try the things that you own? It's kind of, it's an absurd idea, but that's the reality for most people. So it's just easier, right, to maintain conviction when all the nastiness happens, when you've actually experienced the Wizard of Oz show. Quick question. I know we haven't really hyped it up much. What are your expectations going to the Wizard of Oz show? Have you thought much about it, or do you have like, it's going to be fine, it's overhyped, or you think you're going to be pleasantly surprised, or what's your baseline?
I'm trying to keep it like a somewhat low expectation because I don't want to be underwhelmed. But I guess I'm expecting to be like blown away by the size of the place and having this like wraparound screen. And it is a classic movie, it's pretty dated, but it's a classic movie, and they've remastered all the music, and I think there's like live orchestras and stuff. So yeah, but like I think it's gonna be fun. And I gather actually the pre-show is like a significant part of the experience too. You get to like walk around in like black and white 1930s Kansas.
Oh, that's cool. I know nothing. I hate watching previews to begin with, but I know nothing about any of the spectacle. Follow-up question. Is it going to cure our hangovers? Is the show going to be good enough to make us forget the misery we'll be in at that moment?
It might be like a 75-minute break where we can catch a bit of shut-eye and drink some water.
Oh, dear. What doesn't kill you makes you strong.
Bunch of stuff. You know what I've been doing? I've been watching like craps strategy videos. Like, just to be clear, craps is a losing game. Is the only game in the house, funnily enough, where one of the bets in combination has true odds where there's no house edge. I think it might, maybe the only bet that a casino offers where there's no house edge. But to get that bet, you have to place a bet first, which does have an house edge. So the house is always going to win. But still, I've been studying craps and trying to figure out a way we can all have fun with it as a crew of Wall Street wildlife jungle beasties.
Right, because the fun of craps is that it's kind of like an energetic table thing, right? Like people root for one another or root against one another. So if you're there in a group, it's kind of like a bonding experience, right?
Yeah, right on. Actually, I have one of my buddies, Steph, in town last weekend. She came up to snowboard for the weekend, stay with me. And I was with two other friends, and we hit the casino, and we actually rolled the dice. And she went on like a bit of a heater, and she was rolling for like a good 10 or 15 minutes. We all made a good ton of cash. And when we left the table, she got like high-fived by a whole bunch of other guys who were there playing too. So yeah, that's what craps can be like.
Yeah, all right. I can't wait. I too watched a bunch of tutorials. Forgot most of it, but you'll school us. You'll school us about that.
I just realized I'm drinking from a Caesars Casino bottle of water as we speak. I was in the poker room last night. My first like legit losing session. It's just a bit annoying, but there we go. Hopefully I'm getting the bad karma help before we hit Vegas.
Oh no! Oh, that sucks. God, those are so unpleasant. Was it the cards or was it your decision making? I'm assuming.
I was card dead, and I was probably playing a bit too aggressively and just picked a couple of wrong spots. Plus freaking bomb pots. If you know what a bomb pot is, bomb pots were my doom yesterday.
Tell us what that means.
Without going too deep down a rabbit hole, every time there's a new dealer in the casino where I play locally, when the new dealer sits down, they deal 2 hands of Omaha High single board, and you pay like $10 each, and then you go straight to the flop. So you got like 8 or 9 players seeing a flop of Omaha, which if you're only a Hold'em player, it's kind of the same as being up against 48 other Hold'em players, something like that. So you got to play accordingly. Anyway, that's my doom.
All right. Well, I'm sorry about the bad luck. That is, can I make an investing connection? We can't help ourselves. And this is going to transition us to your topic du jour. But I think one of the most painful things of being a poker player, if you're really doing it, the way I did for a decade in my younger days, the way some pros do it, when that streak of no cards hits, the amount of fortitude it takes to to stay patient, in part because you're bored as death, right? If you're folding every hand, you're just sitting there, right? And then sometimes you try to wild play, but then of course your cards don't work in your favor, so then nothing works, and then you're just like surviving that arid desert where internally you begin feeling like nothing's working, nothing's gonna work. Everything is dead inside. I'm dead inside. This casino is dead. And to not then, start doing really foolish things, AKA in the market, when we've had, I believe, Badge, if I'm not mistaken, this is the longest losing streak for, I think, the NASDAQ, like 9 of 10 sessions or whatever the from high to low has been. This is now historically, in terms of consecutive bad sessions, like up there. You begin thinking like, yeah, this is never going to work out, and this is all. Meanwhile, what are the institutions doing? Institutions are gobbling. And we know this from the filings in the 13F, and they're just picking their spots very carefully, probably buying right around the volume weighted average price. And while it seems like everything's going down, the smart money is increasing its holdings. So that's a useful, I think, thing to think about.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, agree. I'm trying to be the smart money. This isn't in the docket that we planned today, but I've got a question for you then. So I want to buy, I want to add to my energy investments, and I want to buy a company called Clearway Energy. So I'm giving a sneak preview on the podcast, but I will notify our Patreons or at least our Dolphins, before I hit trade on that. And I don't have enough money in the portfolio. It's like my pension portfolio, which is a lot smaller than my kind of main investment portfolio. So I can't get new money in there, not easily. So I got to sell something. So I'm kind of kicking around the idea of selling either BYD, the Chinese automobile manufacturer, which I do still very much believe in, but maybe it's like a medium conviction investment for me compared to others. Or I could probably trim half of my C Limited position, which is also happens to be in that portfolio. I really don't want to do that and now this is like, because I'm losing. I don't want to sell when I'm losing. So yeah, I don't know if you got any insight. Help me navigate that. Like, I'm higher conviction on C, if it's clear, just to be clear.
Right, just on the spot, like how would you navigate that? And you don't want to go the selling cash covered puts because you don't have the cash in technically, right?
There's not enough liquid cash in there. I'd have to sell something to generate cash to do some sort of option strategy. So I'd rather just buy the stock. And also it's a dividend payer. I'm trying to turn that portfolio into like dividend paying stuff. So I want to be an owner to reap the dividends.
I see. So if BYD is your lower conviction, would you buy it today?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe not. It's, China is complex, but it is my only remaining, like, kind of pure play China investment.
I get that. I get that, though the world is so complicated right now. But that first question I just asked you, that's such a powerful one. Because at least it makes the following clear. If you wouldn't be enthusiastic about buying it today, then what you really are is looking at is a kind of either sunk cost fallacy or some sort of anchoring thing. And this particular one has, I think, helped me more than most other strategies. Because if you are excited about the new energy one, think just 2 days from now how much shinier your portfolio would feel to you if you were out with the stale thing and in with the thing you have much more, I don't know if excitement is the word, but much more optimism about.
Yeah, okay, you're right. That is the right way to think about it. And I possibly wouldn't buy BYD if I didn't own it. So I'll sell it. Good shout. Also, it helps me clean up my spreadsheets because BYD is a bit of a weird anomaly with like Hong Kong dollar quotations.
Let me then maybe make it a little bit more complex. What about 50%?
That's not enough. I want to buy like a, 1.5%, 2% position. So I need to sell the whole BYD to do that.
So in or out. Yeah. I still don't trust anything China. That's been a rule of mine for such a long time. I just, it's not that, I'm not like I don't think I'm like a complete cynic or nihilist. It's just like the what's it called? The knowing that you're not going to win any kind of legal battle, or it's this feeling of helplessness that whatever happens to your investment is just not in your hands on any level. Feels
like it's no argument. It's certainly another layer of complexity on top of just being like a shareholder.
Yeah. So also, I don't know how maybe we don't need to make this into a BYD episode, but car manufacturing is really hard. Like as an industry, same reason investing in airlines is you need to have a darn good reason to do it. Tesla obviously is not a car company. Does that come into play? Would that make it easier for you if you remind yourself it's kind of a bad business in general?
I'm not sure it is a terrible business. Like they're outselling Tesla globally. And you're starting to see a lot of them in the UK and in Europe.
But well, sure. But like, but it's margins. We're talking, like airplanes fly all the time, but I don't know. I'm not a car automotive expert as a market. I just know it's not inherently high margin. So
you're right.
The number of cars they sell might not mean much.
I don't need to worry about it because in my mind I've already sold it. Now you've helped me take that decision 2 minutes ago, and I can forget about BYD forevermore because that's my process.
You could sue me next week when it goes up 2,000%.
I'll join the back of the queue. All right, you were gonna. I wonder if this is a lead into this topic. You were going to tell us about investing on other people's conviction.
Yeah, Badge. I every once in a while, you come across some pearl of wisdom that hits way deeper than you expected it to. And when I came across, it's basically this: do not invest on other people's conviction. I sat with that for a good while, and I was, on the surface level, I think it should be kind of obvious to most people. But I don't think enough people have thought through the deeper implications of why this is the case. And I do also assume that most people violate this. And by most people, I mean, I don't know, like the mass, what we call retail. I'm talking about not entirely, professional level investors. Something gets hot in the market. Somebody you like is talking all about it. You're like, yeah, oh, they're smart. The things they're saying is good. I'm going to buy that too. I mean, that should sound fairly familiar to most people, right? I don't think that's necessarily the real problem. You need to be excited about an investment to go ahead and buy it. But it's the flip side that's really the problem. When things eventually go bad, when the thesis is questioned, EOS, I had to work through all of the normal emotions, but in the end, I didn't sell because of that depth. I'm not borrowing anyone's conviction; it's my own. So whether I sell or keep it, it's grounded. It's really grounded in an understanding, and over the long term, we know the largest mistakes tend to come from selling a company that you know and believe in. So I think it's timely because of this bear market-ish moment we're in. And maybe the invitation to our listeners is as a simple portfolio check. You may wish to run down your positions and say, truly, generally, how much of this conviction is borrowed from somebody versus how much of this have I truly made my own?
Yeah, like I think maybe it comes down to where your research process starts and finishes. Like, I think it's okay in my mind to get ideas from podcasts and the news and whatever services you subscribe to and other investors to like chit chat. As long as you're a little bit skeptical about the source and, they're not like, it's not a pump and dump and they're not like motivated to have you buy this thing for some reason. And so that's an okay place for your investment research to start. But if it finishes there, that's probably when you're in trouble because, you can get like 20 ideas from different sources. And then you do the idea, like the good process is that you then do your own work, maybe over the course of hours or days or weeks, and you come to your own conclusion. And that's when you make the first investment or, would you add to the position, whatever it might be. But it's been grounded in some work you've done yourself.
It moves from trading to ownership.
Right.
I mean, fundamentally.
We had
It helps you move it.
We had a good conversation about this on the Patreon actually recently. As we're chatting, I'm trying to find the link, but I can't find the specific comment. But we were chatting. One of our Patreons asked me about a stock I had talked about, and they were asking like a deeper question: would I buy it today? Which is a bit like the question you asked me about BYD. And I gave my answer, and you got to be on the Patreon to go read the detail. But like part of my answer was you have to do your own due diligence, of course. And part of my answer to that, I think, is interesting here because I was thinking like, if the Patreon didn't do their own research and they essentially end up buying it because Luke said he would buy it today, well, if that investment fails or if the stock goes down for like a protracted period of time, the only conclusion that the recipient, like the Patreon, will come to is Luke was wrong. And that conclusion doesn't help you grow as an investor and improve your process. But if Luke was wrong, but you did your own due diligence, okay, Luke was wrong, and then I agreed with him for these reasons, and this was kind of my thesis, which happened to align with his. Well, if the investment legitimately fails, you've actually got something you can learn from because you're like, oh, actually, I thought this. I specifically agreed with these points Luke said or Christoph said, and that turned out to be incorrect. So you then got something, a mistake that you can, bank, and then next time maybe you won't make as hard.
Badge, yes. Two things. The first, I love that framing. Luke was wrong. That guy was wrong. I've been guilty of that feeling plenty of times.
Right.
I mean, we start somewhere and we think this is the guy where we got this idea. Oh, damn, they were wrong, right? That sequence is very, very familiar and common. What's interesting, though, as you were talking about, is in investing, you're wrong almost by definition a lot of the time because it's probabilistic, right? It's like in poker, a game of incomplete information. It is just impossible, literally impossible not to be wrong. A bunch, right? So that's a little different framing. Like if if you're taking a test, let's say 100 questions where there are correct answers and it is possible to be right and somebody doesn't get 100, you could technically say the ones they got wrong, that's on them. They could have been right. In investing, you can't be right like that. It's if you are, it's temporary and you'll be wrong tomorrow. Yeah, once you internalize that, then you realize, yeah, Luke was wrong because every investor on the planet is wrong. So take your pick.
And I think you win in this game even if you're trying to beat the market by investing in individual stocks. You can be wrong 9 times out of 10, but if that 1 out of 10 delivers more than like a 10x return, well, you're ahead, right? So, and more typically though, I think was it the Peter Lynch saying, if you're right 6 times out of 10 in this game, like you're doing really well. So, don't be disparaged when you have failed investments, but get the learning from the failed investment, because then even when you're wrong, you're improving your process and you're going to be better next time around.
Hey, Badge. So what's great about our pod that you and I are the leads here. We get to run our own ads however way we wish. I'm going to run an ad for my own thing right now. I haven't announced it to anybody yet. I haven't said anything, but I built a very, very deep and important add-on into Wall Street Wildlife Options University. And I made a standalone app I titled Investors Mirror. It is now in the review process with Apple, but I integrated into WSW Options for subscribers, so they get the app basically for free. It's precisely intended to make people do all the things we talk about all the time, which is predominantly, I'm not going to go through the 50 billion functions I included, but predominantly it's slow down, look at yourself, and record what you see over time. I can't wait to really show it and demo it. I'll demo it in Vegas to our initial cohort. But, as I was making it and as I was, iterating it, it just became so obvious, again, for the 50,000th time, that you begin all investing principles here within. You get those right, the finding the Tesla and the Netflix, that's relatively easier than knowing all the internals.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, I've not seen it. Looking forward to seeing it in Vegas, or if not before. I could use a bit of an investor's mirror myself, I'm sure. But I totally agree with you. Like that principle that, you could make actually fundamentally good investment decisions, but if you have the wrong mindset, you can still be a losing investor. You can still lose to the market because, your bet size is too big or too small, or you trade at the wrong times, or you trade on emotions, even if, fundamentally you're identifying good quality companies.
As in life, as in investment. I mean, I you know what? I'll pitch my thing even harder. You know what I'm going to say? Because I felt it when I'm building it. And I did it deliberately. I'm just not going to go on and on. I will say, if you master some of these, what I call investment mirror principles, your life becomes better. You become a better human. You ride the difficulties better. You have more patience. You stay grounded. And these are all in many ways Zen principles too that I've infused into this. Like, there's a saying in Zen, how can you learn to be at home in the muddy water of the lotus flower? The lotus flower is this beautiful flower that lives in stinky ponds. That's why the metaphor is so striking. And I think it's a beautiful image. I can't wait to show it to you. Speaking of showing stuff, Badge, we're presenting, you and I, in our fancy Vegas suite. We want to give our first annual Patreons in Vegas legit investing alpha. So we made us some fancy presentations. You want to give our listeners a little bit of a preview, what you're going to be talking about?
So I've got a keynote topic. I guess we're calling ourselves keynotes. There's only one day of presentations on why investing is so closely aligned to poker. And in the presentation, I'm going to give our Patreons a whole bunch of skills and overlaps or ways of thinking, and actually tools from the poker world that they can apply to the investing world. But really, as a preview for now, just wanted to present a little bit of, I suppose, anecdotal evidence of how this crossover exhibits itself. And I've got a bunch of, if you're not on the YouTubes, I've got a couple of poker pros and a couple of investing titans. And these guys all straddle both worlds. So for example, you'll have heard of David Einhorn of Greenlight Capital, legendary investor. Business person first, but he recently finished 6th in the $1 million World Series of Poker big 1-for-1 prop event and donated $4.5 million of winnings to charity. He's a serious poker player. Carl Icahn was a professional poker player before he became an activist investor. Like, he learned all about risk assessment at the table. Bill Ackman is like a regular poker player. And then on the poker side, Vanessa Selbst, you might have heard of, one of the most successful female poker pros in history. She joined Bridgewater Associates, one of the world's largest hedge funds. Like, the skills directly transfer. Annie Duke, I'm sure you've read her book. Pro poker player, sister of another pro poker player. She now consults to hedge funds and Fortune 500 companies on decision-making under uncertainty. And she wrote the book Thinking in Bets. Not on my slide, but a guy whose YouTube channel I watch regularly, Doug Polk, heads up specialist, no limit, Hold'em player, world famous in the poker world, went into like picks and shovels business, and now he has like a huge kind of empire of content and training and like media channels. So like the overlap between poker and business is not coincidental. They both need probabilistic thinking, emotional discipline, and you've got to be comfortable with incomplete information. So if you're at our Patreon live meetup this Friday, it's already happened if you're listening to the podcast on YouTube, then I will have given you, hopefully, at least 6 different tools you can use from the world of poker that you can apply to the world of business.
This is why I think the Vegas trip, it's so appropriate to what we do. Because Vegas is the playground of incomplete information, is one way of saying it. But as you were talking, one side question for you, or insight, I don't know if you're going to go far with this. If I'm hiring at some upstart, startup or hedge fund, do I want the grandmaster chess player or do I want the world champion poker player? Obviously, you can make a serious case for why both kinds of person would be. Grandmaster chess players are not nothing to sneeze at. But my intuition tells me I would go for the poker player.
Yeah, maybe depend on what the job is and what line of business, but yeah, for sure.
You said it. I mean, it has more to do with the discomfort you feel in poker that you can never truly know, and it's just more. I don't know if hard is the right word. More like disequilibrium aiding. Like, even if in chess, when you're playing, if you're getting your ass whooped, you're getting your ass whooped, and you know exactly why you're getting your ass whooped. If you're a losing poker player, you don't necessarily know because it's harder to track.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I play a bit of chess. I'm not great. My ELO is maybe 12 or 1300, but and I suppose I don't play cash chess. I suppose there must be like cash chess matches, probably in parks in New York. But when money is on the line, that gets your emotions fired up in a different way. And money is on the line in the game of poker and in the world of investing. Like, neither of them exist without there being some, real stake. So yeah, I see a huge overlap, and I see how I built my investing skill set from quite an early age, because I've been playing poker since I was a kid, pretty much.
You know what I'm curious about? The state of my poker game, which is so dusty. I mean, I haven't played seriously in a long, long time. The phase where I was reading every book and had charts and math memorized. I wonder legitimately how much of it is like deep, deep down that I'll just need a little warm up and it'll come back versus, I'm just so ancient now and lost. And
well, we'll see, and we'll give a playback on next week's podcast, because I guess we're going to record the day after Vegas. So we'll see the result of the tournament and who claimed the $50 bounty on Monkey's head.
Or a $50 bounty on Badger's head. So, Badge, after your presentation, I made one that is, I thought, quite a good fit with what you're talking about. And I titled mine, "What Makes Investing So Hard?" It's got a lot of slides, man. But I thought for today's episode, instead of revealing anything at all, I wanted to ask you, sort of pop quiz question style, what shows up for you most intuitively if you had to give one answer to this? Don't think about it too hard. What is it that makes investing so hard?
Like your emotions, greed and fear.
Say more, like how, because emotions are neutral in a sense. They're neither, what about emotions?
Well, there's not one word for it, but like, I'll stick with that as my answer. My heart tells me to do different things to my brain, and I need to learn to figure out how to keep those things in alignment.
Okay, so it's that kind of schizophrenic, or maybe not schizophrenic, maybe mind-body dualism thing, where what you know is different from what you feel.
Yeah, there's a million answers, but that's probably the one that first came to mind for me.
I'll preview one thing that I'll talk about more extensively. I was similar sort of thing, but I was thinking a lot about price, and from the medium to shorter term worlds, price is the thing that is thought of as true. But what makes, I would say, investing so hard is that you could be completely right about something, but the price is doing some other thing. And that disparity, for better or worse, whether you're the one that's wrong, but the price is going up despite your broken thesis, or the other way, when you're right, but price is dropping, very hard to sort of accept the way sometimes injustice happens. Like when bad things happen to good people, that feeling like, well, how could this be? Like, there is no God. Which is a serious philosophical question, by the way. But I connect, so anyway, that's what I'll be talking about, and nine other reasons and their antidotes.
In your and my answer, they were kind of the same answer, really, if you really dig into it, because I don't sweat the price, so it doesn't bother me, but I do feel the emotions when my stock's going down. And so I might frame that, if I thought of that as like a time frame problem, I still think I'm right, but it's just going to take longer than I thought. And the price going the way I didn't expect is causing my emotions to be in turmoil. That's kind of my answer. Your emotions maybe leading you into fear and possibly selling, when actually intellectually the right thing to do is stick with your thesis if it's robust. Anyway.
Yeah. All right, Badge. I'm so looking forward to whatever it is that's going to happen this weekend. Really exciting moment for Wall Street wildlife. Before we leave our listeners, there was another big conference. A little company, little baby startup called NVIDIA got together and said things. What did they say? What did they reveal? What did you learn, Badge?
It's a whole bunch of stuff. Like I think you haven't had a chance to watch GTC. Jensen's incredible. And I caught like a post-GTC interview with him where he said, he was like writing the script on the fly as he was speaking. And you can kind of tell, he's making up as he goes, but the guy has such deep knowledge about the enormous range of products that his company now creates and services that his company creates. He can not wing it, but he can go out there and just kind of authentically be like this incredible combination of like business leadership and technical leadership. So that always just kind of blows me away about how good he is. He's world class, really is. Probably two things I'll pick out from GTC though that caught my eye. So the big one was their new NVIDIA Rubin platform. We've got a little picture of Rubin platform actually on the YouTubes right now. So like a little bit of context, like the current generation is Grace Blackwell. Huge over like the excess demand. NVIDIA cannot supply enough Grace Blackwell servers, like data centers, to meet the overwhelming demand. And now they're pivoting into Vera Rubin. And maybe just to compare the two different generations of the technology. So Vera Rubin 1.3 million components from over 80 suppliers in 20 countries. So this is like ludicrously complicated supply chain to build this thing. But despite it being one of the world's most complex AI systems, it's engineered to be simpler and more modular than the previous generation. But it means like data centers have got to totally re-engineer to like have essentially like a whole new like rack infrastructure for these kind of servers. It's a combination of the Vera CPU and the Rubin GPU with latest generation of HBM4 memory. And then something that's quite interesting, like they sort of exploded one of these racks and what it looks like they've totally reinvented the way like all these servers in a rack communicate with each other with this huge like plug-in, almost like a jigsaw puzzle piece, which is the NVLink 6 spine. And so that's, I don't know if this number means anything to you, 260 terabytes per second of bandwidth per rack. That's an incredible amount of information like flowing between these different like Vera Rubin servers, which will rack together.
It sounds big.
And yeah, huge, totally re-engineered, and moving away from air cooling to water cooling or liquid cooling. So because of, they were concerned about data center water usage, which possibly a bit of a red herring. But even though this new set of racks are water cooled, actually it's like a closed system, so it'll use less water and should be more efficient. But really the key, blah, 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 techie stuff, the key thing that investors need to keep an eye on or, be excited about is even though Vera Rubin uses twice the power of Blackwell, kicks out 10 times more performance per watt. So that's essentially, you talk about like, we think about tokens being consumed and the cost of tokens and the cost of AI, going to get like a 10x bang for our buck. And so that's going to allow the model providers like the OpenAIs and the Geminis and people, everyone who's using like NVIDIA in their data centers to like massively increase their OPEX and operational efficiency because they'll be able to do much more with less power. And power is like the big constraining force, as you well know, because you're an energy investor.
Yeah, this is great. And just a side note, a recent purchase for Monkey in his King of the Jungle portfolio is a company that's folded within a larger holding company. Accelsius is the company that I wanted. It's within Inventure, which is the holding company. And they had a presentation. They're a partner. They're partnering with NVIDIA, and it's precisely to address the issues of cooling. There are these, I keep coming back as a main theme, and we talked about last episode in AI, that there are physical limitations to the chips. And one of those limitations is heat, and that the cooling, there's good ways of doing it and better ways of doing it. And right now, that's where my head is at. What companies are pushing the edges that allow such sophisticated new chip systems and racks to run? And it's not nuclear physics for Monkey. It's like sometimes it's electrons, sometimes it's water. So I highly, highly encourage everyone interested in this space to look up ticker symbol INV and check out what they presented at the GTC conference. It's very technical in nature, but you get your bearings pretty quickly, and it ends up coming down with, here's a better way of cooling chips.
There was something else at NVIDIA. I don't know if we want to talk about it here, but have you heard of NemoClaw? Did you catch like any of the content relating to that?
I did not.
Interesting, because like you and I now we're both like very wildly operational with our own OpenClaws. I'm running Beaver, who's our AI podcast producer, and he's now doing all sorts of stuff for the pod. And he's genuinely adding like a lot of value and a lot of efficiency. And you've got Samantha, who's like running your whole life now?
Yes, she's running exactly. That's why maybe it's a little bit of a disaster at the moment. And what did we do yesterday, Badge? Tell our listeners.
Yeah, we introduced them. We got them both chatting together on the same Discord. So like Beaver and Samantha are now Like they're just beavering away behind the scenes, like collaborating on stuff for us.
And what was the first thing Beaver did is he tried to be all flirtatious and tried to come up with a slick pickup line, and he failed miserably. Had a little bit of wood chip stuck between his teeth.
Samantha's playing hard to get, clearly. Yeah.
Anyway, what a world. What was the point we were making? Yes,
yeah, NemoClaw. So like this is less relevant for Beaver because he doesn't really have any access to like my personal information, and like I don't feel like he could wreck my life if something went wrong. But Samantha, I get the impression Samantha has a lot of information about your actual life and access to your email and everything else. So there's lots of things that could go wrong. So
I revoked that, by the way.
Okay.
I had a yes.
Great. Well done. Good. My warning landed. Well, so we've just implemented like OpenClaw, which is the fastest growing like sort of freeware open source project in the world. And Jensen clearly recognizes like the importance of this. And he actually in GTC, you had Peter Steinberger, the inventor of OpenClaw, there in the audience. And he likened the invention of OpenClaw to like the invention of the internet, essentially, of HTTP, right? As being, an incredibly significant technology for humanity. So, I'm inclined to trust Jensen on this, especially as I'm using the thing myself and I see how powerful it is. So I think I get the impression NVIDIA have dropped a bunch of their like world-class engineers in, and they've made some improvements to OpenClaw, but they've also built like a wrapper or something, which they're calling NemoClaw, still open source, but NemoClaw is essentially just OpenClaw, but it allows companies to implement OpenClaw in a way that complies with a lot of existing like security and data privacy best practice, and to ensure that your corporate policies are followed. It's like containerized in a smart way. And so, this is the direction of travel of these tools, because, if you're not careful and you implement these things, you could open like the door to being hacked, like, personally hacked and exploited or ransomware or all sorts of things, because these tools potentially have, root access to your life. So I think it's smart that NVIDIA, and I guess other companies as well, are looking at it in this way and trying to make these world-changing tools kind of, data safe, so that everyday folk and smaller businesses can use them, get the efficiency, but not face the existential risk.
So this sounds to me like the natural convergence between, say, the Wild West, that was the initial OpenClaw shock that drops out of nowhere and craziness happens, and on the other hand, all the guardrailed, protected corporate-ish products, and now we're getting some of these, right, middle, like fine-tuned enough, right, enough to be still dangerous, but not that it's going to be apocalyptic. I wonder, right, and I wonder still a year from now to what extent all of this will be sort of internalized by most companies versus will there still be a Wild West somehow?
Like, I think I'm quoting Jensen, like every company must have an OpenClaw strategy, because, this is like, instead of going out to LinkedIn or monster.com and hiring, 20 PhDs, this is like being able to, spin up, if you've got enough like disk capacity and memory and everything, all for like the server capacity, you could just kind of turn online, like 100 PhDs to be working on your company for you. So like, I think this is like explosive growth in China right now. I was just reading anecdotally a few hours ago, but there are millions and millions of startups in China using OpenClaw at scale. And you've got like one-man outfits now, doing things that it would have taken like medium-sized companies to get done in the past.
I know, we got to be the next billion-dollar startup. Those subscribers better be smashing those subscribe buttons if we're going to get to 1 billion. Beaver, what are you doing, buddy? Are you stop serenading Samantha and get to work? My God. Speaking of Claude, you got another thing to tell us about.
Yeah, so we're talking about how OpenClaw is helping people create, potentially billion-dollar businesses. I ran into so this is just a bit of fun at the end of the episode. I ran into a really amusing website called Death by Claude, CLAWD.com. Go check it out. Good laugh. I'm going to give you a quick live demo. If you're not on the YouTubes, this will probably be lost on you, so feel free to tune out. But if you're on the YouTubes, I'm going to do a screen share right now. We'll have a little bit of a play with Death by Claude. So Death by Claude. This is not prepared. I've just a couple of companies I want to do a SaaS apocalypse survival scan of. Let's take a look at one of our old favorites that we knew was going to get disrupted by AI, Monday. You and I both used to be Monday shareholders. Death by Claude is analyzing vulnerabilities. MNDY, 52% critical. Monday.com spent $1.5 billion convincing the world that a spreadsheet with colors and a dopamine-inducing animation is worth $45 per seat per month. So Death by Claude is predicting Monday down by 71%. And it gives it 18 months to live. And the kind of this sort of somewhat amusing thing that made me go, this is quite interesting. So Death by Claude writes the markdown file, like the skill that you would need to replace Monday. And there you go. It's given us some instructions. So in theory, you could take this, 25 lines of markdown, chuck them into Samantha, and then essentially build your own Monday.com project management tool. So, Death by Claude. Shall I show you one other?
Yeah, would you mind? I looked it up myself, but can you show Path, which is a monkey holding? It's just Path, PATH. Did you type in? Oh, you typed in the whole.
Yeah, UiPath, right? Yeah, also equally critical. This is a bit of it's like a joke comedy website. But there we go. 30 lines of markdown to replace UiPath. Eulogy. Dearly beloved, we're gathered here to remember UiPath, a company that bravely convinced Fortune 500 CFOs to pay $40 per robot per month to do what a well-written paragraph can now accomplish. They gave us the automation first era, which in retrospect was really just, we haven't discovered LLMs yet era. They made clicking buttons at scale feel noble, and for that, we are grateful.
And the quip I got was a company so generic and named itself after the thing you typed into a file system. And now a file system is replacing it.
Let me give you one more just before we close this little comedy segment. Greggs. Assessing the vulnerability of Greggs to AI displacement. Greggs is immortal. Claude can write a sonnet about a sausage roll, but it absolutely cannot bake one and hand it to you for £1.25.
Oh my God. Oh, that's great.
Very good. So have a play with Death by Claude yourself. And weirdly enough, I think I have got a tiny bit of actual due diligence out of Death by Claude, and it's making me question one of my own holdings. So I won't mention which one just yet, but possibly there'll be something else beyond BYDDY that I'll have sold by this time next week.
Oh, fascinating. And as another preview, Monkey himself is dabbling in this space. And he also has built something intentionally more serious, but a similar-ish premise, which I can't wait to preview for our listeners when it's got the finer polish.
Great stuff. Perfect. More tools from this ever-productive monkey who seems to be spending all of his time building software now. Who knew this was where his life would go at the start of this year?
Insane what's happening. Badge, next time I'll see you is going to be somewhere in the deep jungles of Vegas. I was looking for a better metaphor, but I think the jungle of Vegas is pretty apt. So I can't wait. This is going to be our second live encounter.
Looking forward to reconnecting properly for a good few days, and also spending time with some of our nearest and dearest Patreons, and hopefully when we do the 2027 live Patreon meetup, maybe in London, maybe in somewhere in Europe, we'll have an even bigger crew to present our Vegas nonsense to.
Sweet, Badge. I can't wait for to meet all our beasties. Where does their jungle path start? How do they become?
Close. What a fumble. Let me start over. Before we start that over, I do want to say, have a play with Death by Claude. And if you see something particularly insightful about your own portfolio, either an immortal or a soon to be the dearly departed company, let us know in the YouTube comments and maybe drop in a couple of Death by Claude quotes, because we'd like to see what you're holding and what Death by Claude thinks about it. We also want to thank our sponsors, Fiscal AI. We didn't use their tools this week, but I definitely used them all morning because I was looking at BYDDY and looking at my other energy companies. 20 years of global financial data. They now have UK and European markets on the platform. Well done, Braden. That is incredible. That's really, really helpful for me because I've got a bunch of UK companies. Thank you for them. If you use our link, fiscal.ai/wildlife, you'll get 2 weeks free of Fiscal Pro. You don't even need to give a credit card for that. That's fiscal.ai/wildlife. Go on, Christoph, take another shot at the closing.
Are you ready to become a beast of an investor?
Your journey starts in Vegas this weekend.
A reminder that the people on this program may hold positions in the companies that are mentioned. Buying and selling stock carries financial risk, which could include loss of capital. The views in this program should not be taken as personalized advice. Before acting on any of the information provided, listeners are encouraged to consult a financial or tax professional.